Okay. Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Alexander or Mrs. A. Thank you for joining me today. Today we are painting Icy Treat. It's hot outside and I hope that you're cool right now and you are feeling comfortable where you are. My air conditioner broke, so I'm actually having to use a fan to keep me cool. But just thinking about this popsicle that we're painting today is making me feel a lot cooler. So I'm excited to get started. I hope that you are as well. Drop me a line, let me know where you are. And while you're letting me know where you are, adding a few thumbs up and hearts, I'm going to make sure we have all the supplies that we need. I know you're doing homeschooling right now, you've got a lot of work on your plate, but it's always great to take a creative break. So we're taking a creative break. It's hot this week and we're painting our icy treat. It's a popsicle. You are the artist, so you get to decide if you'd like your popsicle to have two little popsicle sticks or one. You can create your popsicle as you'd like it to be, and you can also decide on what color you'd like for your popsicle. It does not have to be this sort of strawberry orange, sort of lemonade popsicle color. You decide what colors you'd like. So first I want to make sure that you have all the supplies that you need. Today I'm going to be working on a 16 by 20 canvas, a lot larger than the original. But that's because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing better compared to the little one. So I'm just going to be painting on this large 16 by 20 canvas. If you are painting on a canvas that's this large as well, you're going to need some large paintbrushes. You can use a small one. It just means that you're going to be a little bit behind when removing. So I've got my large paintbrush. This is for my large areas. So when we're doing the background, we're going to need the large paintbrush. And I've got a smaller paintbrush. So when I have to do the small or fine detail, you're going to be using the small paintbrush. If you're using a 9 by 12 canvas, which is a lot smaller, then make sure that you have at least two paintbrushes as well, a large one and a small one. As long as you have two paintbrushes to get yourself started at the bare minimum. If you have three or more paintbrushes, oh my goodness, that's fine as well. That works for us as well. So you've got your canvas, you've got your paintbrush. Sometimes it's kind of difficult to get your canvas at this time. So what I would recommend, if you could not get to your local dollar store or you couldn't get to any of the other stores, you might even try Michael's, which I believe is open this week, and take a look and see if you can get your canvas. If you cannot, try a cereal box. You can take an old cereal box. On the inside of the box, you can either paint that white about at least an hour before we get started. Paint that white so it's a surface for you, or if you have paper, it works as well. Whatever works for you at this time, because we are still trying to maintain social distancing and keep our distance apart. So it's difficult sometimes to get the supplies you need. You should have as well, in addition to your paintbrushes, your paint colors. Again, you can decide what colors you would like for your painting, but I've put a few basic colors onto my plate. I'm using a plate today. If you have an artist's palette, this is an artist palette, so an artist will put their paints in the various wells and you hold your paint on this. If you don't have that, at the bare minimum, what I want you to be using is a plate. I have these disposable plates that I are using sometimes, and that's what you want to make sure. I put the colors I'm going to start with. You're going to at least start with white. There's a bit of blue in my background, so you want to do some blue. I've got yellow and I've got pink. If you would like to do purple instead of that, that's fine. If you only have your primary colors, which is your red, yellow, and blue, which is what I had in the list of supplies beforehand, that's fine as well. You're going to use those primary colors and you can mix those to get the other colors that you would need as we're working along. So don't ever feel that it has to be this exact color. You are the artist, so you can decide what colors you'd like your painting and your background to be. I see a few people saying hi. Hi, Tara. Thanks for joining me. And I think Sheldon is here as well. Thanks for joining us. Oh, hi, Sherry Ann, with your daughter is here, so I'm glad you're here with us as well. And Sam, you are here with your daughter and your little ones as well. So thank you for joining me. Some of you have painted with me before, so welcome back. I appreciate that. And some of you are new for the first time with me. So we're just starting off by making sure we have all the supplies that we need. Let me know where you're painting. Some of you are actually in the States, so some of you are joining me all the way from the States. Let me know where you are painting. Because we are doing acrylic paints, it's best if you have a cup or jar with water. So this is my water. I'm going to be using it to clean my paintbrushes at times. So you want to make sure you have a cup or jar with water. When an artist is painting, sometimes they have this tool, which is called a palette knife. We use a palette knife sometimes to paint entire paintings, and I have done an entire painting simply using my palette knife. It can be plastic or it can be metal. If you don't have a palette knife, what I would recommend that you use for today is a popsicle stick. We also use our palette knife when we need to mix our paint. So if, for instance, you needed the color green and you didn't have it, you can take your blue, mix it into your yellow, and you will get the color green. But you're going to be using the popsicle stick to do that. You can use a paintbrush if you don't have a popsicle stick. It's just that we find that it loads a lot of paint onto the brush, which you end up wasting. So it's a better idea to use your popsicle stick or palette knife to mix your paint colors as you are going. So make sure you have all the supplies that you need. Another good thing to have with you is a paper towel. Paper towel can be used, for instance, if I'm painting, if I get a little run, like I've got too much water, I can use a paper towel to wipe up any of the runs that might happen if I have too much water on my paintbrush. Or you can use a baby wipe. So I've got my baby wipes here with me, just in case you get a spill on your clothing. You might want to use a baby wipe or anywhere else to wipe that up. Not just good for babies' bums, they're also good for wiping up any spills that we may have. So I've got my paper towel ready. Sometimes I use an apron. Today I'm not because it's so very hot. The temperature is really gorgeous. Kind of reminds me of where I grew up in the country of Trinidad, where the temperature was always very hot. We had temperatures of like 30 degrees Celsius. I am talking very hot, and I loved it. So today, I love the weather that's outside, and I'm hoping that this popsicle that we're painting today will cool me down enough, in addition to my fan, because it's so very hot. But I love the temperature. So drop me a line. Let me know if you love this temperature as well. But guess what? It's about time for us to get started on our popsicle painting. You should have all your supplies, your canvas, if it's a 9 by 12 or 8 by 10, 11 by 14, doesn't matter the size, just as long as you have a brush that goes with it as well. When I like to get started, I like to work on my background first, and that's where we're going to get started today. So for the background, you think about what colors you'd like in your background. My background's got yellow, it's got a bit of green, sort of tealy color as well, and a darker greenish blue towards this end. I've even added hints of pink and purple in there as well. So you can decide what colors you'd like. Our first step will be to take our large paintbrush, take your large paintbrush, get your paintbrush wet. I'm doing that by dunking it into the water, taking off the excess. So scrape the little excess off so it doesn't run. And even if it did run, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my paper towel that I have and simply wipe that up with my paper towel. I'm going to first put it into my yellow. I sometimes like to get started by doing an outline of the shape that I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to do an outline of the popsicle stick. Some of you might like to use a pencil if you have that to do the outline. Some of you might like to use chalk. I just use a little bit. So if you see my brush, it's got a little bit of paint on it, a little bit of yellow paint. It's a light color, not too dark. I'm going to outline the shape of my popsicle stick. And try to make your popsicle stick fairly large. You don't want it to be too small. So for instance, for the size that I have there, I don't want my popsicle stick to be this small. That's way too small. And I don't even know if you can see it because I use the color yellow. I might darken it up a bit by adding a little pink just so you can see it on my canvas. Your popsicle, the the part that you eat itself, the icy treat part, should be fairly large. So I'm going to take my time, and I want you to think of almost like a rainbow for the top of your popsicles. I'm going to start at this end. I'm going to go across. See how nice and large that is for the size of my canvas. I do not want it to be small. So think of a line first, then think of a rainbow with that end, and come back down with your line. Now I'm going to close that off. I'm using a bit of pink and yellow so you can see it better, but I would recommend that you use something light like the color yellow. And now I'm going to close that off at this end. So I'm going to come across. So at the bare minimum, it should be at least the size of your hand with your fingers stretched out. Don't make it any smaller than that. A nice sizable popsicle stick. And you are the artist. You get to decide how many popsicle sticks you'd like coming out at this end. So you can do one, or you can do two. The first one that I had two little sticks coming out at the end. This time, I think I might just do the one this time around. And I can always change my mind afterwards. Now I'm going to step back from my painting a bit, see if the dimensions look okay. This is just a basic guideline for where you'd like things to be. You can modify this after. But I'm going to straighten this up a bit because I stepped away from it. So when you're painting, when you're up on your painting, you can't really see how things are going. But when you step away from your painting and look at it, you can see places that you might want to fix or adjust. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit more. I'm going to curve this end just a little bit, not a lot, and I'm going to curve this end as well, just a little bit. If you want to do that with a pencil first, you can. So I'm curving the end of it just a little bit so it's not that sharp. Just a bit of a curve. And now I'm going to curve this, and I see that I need to adjust this as well. So I'm going to just straighten that out just a little bit more. Remember what I said, if you get a little bit of a run, simply take your paper towel and lightly dab it. And I can change my mind about doing one or two popsicle sticks, because I can come in after and I can do two popsicle sticks in case I change my mind. You are the artist. You get to decide what it is you'd like to do. The heat is amazing, Sam. I quite agree with you. I love it. Now that I've done my outline in yellow, I'm going to clean my brush. I'm getting ready to do the background. And like I mentioned, the background's got lots of different colors in it. And I think I'm going to change things up a bit. Instead of doing this direction, I think I'm going to do this direction. My background's got diagonal lines on it. I'm going to switch it up this time around and actually do my lines in this direction. So I'm going top right, bottom left on my canvas. And what I want you to start with is taking up just white paint. Can you see that? Just picking up some white. And I'm going to do my diagonal lines with the white. Just random and in any spot going outside of my popsicle. I've decided I'm going to do my diagonal lines going in this direction, so both ways. I'm doing in white diagonal lines. If you wanted to do your lines straight up and down, you could do that as well. I'm going diagonally, which means from one corner all the way over to the other. I want to see what sort of lines you've decided to do. Are you going to go up and down? Are you going to go diagonal? So with white, I'm creating diagonal lines. How are your diagonal lines coming along? Diagonal lines with a bit of white. I have not filled up every single spot, so some of the spaces in between, there's no paint at all. You just want to have some diagonal lines with white. So do the entire canvas with that. Diagonal lines. Remember, these are acrylic paint, so it's best when you dip your brush into the water every now and then. Okay? Now that I've completely covered my canvas with my diagonal lines, I'm going to just go to the point of the popsicle, and it's okay if you go a little bit in and make a mistake. Remember, from doing lots of painting, we know that once it dries, you can go over it again and cover any mistakes or happy mistakes, if you want to call them, and get that covered up. So don't be afraid if by chance you make a little mistake. Sometimes artists, when they're painting, they discover that the mistake that happened on the canvas is actually something that made the entire picture look even more beautiful. Happy little mistakes, if you know Bob Ross, he used to call them happy little mistakes, because sometimes they happen and you're happy with what happened. So that works as well. So I've gone all the way around with my diagonal lines. Now I'm going to start putting my color in. I'm going to start with yellow in the very corner. So if you look at this original one, there's yellow. I'm going to start with yellow in this diagonal corner. If you did your lines up and down, then you can start on one side with whatever color you want and then gradually move across. So we're going to start with yellow, then I'm going to pick up a little bit of blue and blend that in there. First I'm going to start. I'm leaving the white on my brush. I'm not necessarily going to clean it out, but I'm going to get my brush wet, shake off the excess. Now I'm going into my yellow paint. And I'm going to do the same sort of random stripes. Just random. Starting in the corner just with my yellow. Can you see that? I went diagonally. There's already white there, so a bit of the white and the yellow blend together. The two colors blend and mix. So I start with my yellow, but now I think I'm going to pick up a bit of blue. And if you know about mixing your primary colors, you know that mixing a bit of yellow with a bit of blue is going to give you the color green. So I've got the yellow on my brush. I'm going to take the tiniest touch of blue, not a lot, because I want to start with a little bit of the blue. So can you see that there? A little bit of blue, not a lot. And now I'm going to go into my yellow zone, not all the way up, because I want a bit of yellow on my canvas, but a little way into my yellow zone, I'm going to put that blue in there. Can you see the color that I'm getting? It is green. I'm picking up more blue now, so more than I had before. I'm going across my canvas. My brush is a little dry, so I'm dipping it in the water again. And I'm going back onto my canvas diagonally. And it's okay if by mistake, we spoke about this, happy mistakes, you go into your popsicle zone. It'll be okay. Not to worry about it. Don't let stuff like that bother you. I'm doing my blue, really pressing my brush on there, so a bit of the yellow as well is coming in there. I'm liking this. So you take your time. Every now and then get your brush wet because these are acrylic paints. If you want your color to blend really nicely and really smoothly, you want to dip your brush back into the water. More of my blues. Keeping my strokes going diagonally. Because we have the white there, you're getting a nice light blue. If you think the blue is too dark for you, you can pick up some more of the white. I like how this is coming along. How is your painting coming along? Good. Drop me a line. Let me know how you're doing. I'm actually going to take a little bit more of the yellow and put it into a bit of my blue zone that I started off with. So into my zone that's closest to the yellow, I've reintroduced some more of the yellow on my brush. And I'm starting at this end and putting in some more of the yellow with the same strokes, so quick strokes. See how that's coming along? Good. Now, I don't want as much yellow on this side of my canvas, so I'm going to clean my brush now. Just finishing that off. Take your stripes and your strokes right up to your popsicle line. Now I'm going to clean my brush. Okay, he's doing good. Great. Glad to see that. I'm cleaning my brush. I'm going to pick up some more of my blue as I move over to this side. More over to this side. If you've got purple and you would like to continue on with a bit of purple in there as well, go ahead and do that. This is your painting. You get to decide what colors you'd like on your painting. Every now and then, get your brush wet. There we go. How's your background coming along? Good. Take some more of the blue up at this end. I'm getting my brush wet every now and then because that really helps the color to spread. If you do get a run as you're going, take your paper towel and lightly dab in the spot that you need. Here we go. Just doing a nice background freely, going diagonally, going up and down. This is your painting. Got the white in there as well. That's beautiful. Keep going. You're almost finished. I'm going to add a little bit of, if you've got a bit of red or purple that you'd like to add in there, by all means, go ahead and add that into your painting. So with the blue on my brush, I've got blue on my brush. I'm going to take a little bit of some pink that I've got. I'm going to put that into my blue zone a bit. More, I've picked up more of my pink, and I'm putting that in there as well. Keeping my paintbrush wet every now and then, put it into the water. If you've got purple you'd like to use, go ahead and use purple there. I'm adding a bit of pink. That's what I feel like adding next. This is your painting. Use whatever color you like to get your painting going. Now, it was so hard for us to decide what we should paint this week. I had everyone vote, and it turned out that it was pretty much a 50-50 split on the color, on the painting we should do this week. So what I decided to do was this week, we're going to paint our icy treat. And at the end of our painting today, I'm going to show you what we're going to be working on next week. Okay? Because it was so hard to decide which of the paintings we're going to be doing. So as I come to this corner of my painting, I'm adding a bit more blue and a bit more of the pink. You can decide to add whatever colors you like to finish off the background on your painting. My stripes are there going in between. If you see white spots underneath, it means that your paintbrush is a little bit too dry. Get your paintbrush wet by dunking it into the water. If you have a little too much water on it, you just want to lightly tap it onto your paper towel. How are your backgrounds coming along? If you think you are finished with your background, you want to send me a few thumbs ups and hearts to let me know how you're managing and if your background is done. I'm still going to work on mine because I think I want to really add lots of color in there. Definitely. Continue working on your background. Add pinks, add purples. If your white is a little too dry, you can reintroduce some more white into your painting as you're working. I'm taking up more of the blue because I'd like this end to be a little bit darker. So I'm reintroducing more of my blue at this end because I want this end of my painting to be a lot darker. If you've got purple, you can add a bit of purple in there. If you've got red and you want to add some red in there, definitely go ahead and do that. How many of you have already had an icy treat or a popsicle for today? I've not had mine as yet, but as soon as I'm finished this painting, I'm going to be having a popsicle. It is hot. Some of you might not have popsicles, some of you might have freezies, whatever works for you to cool you down on this hot day, definitely go ahead and do it. Sometimes a nice cold icy drink of water works as well. It's great for your body and it keeps you hydrated. Whatever works for you. So work on your background. Fill any little white spots up with paint. How's your background coming along? Let me know how it's coming along. Are you almost finished your background? Do you need a little more time for it? Once we are finished with our background, we're actually going to be working on the popsicle stick next. And I'm going to show you how to mix the color brown for your popsicle stick. But first I want you to finish up on your background. Add that color in there. If you've added a color and then you're like, you know what, I don't quite like that color, then you can choose to wait for it to dry a bit and then reintroduce another color or add some more white to it. As long as you put lots of strokes in there, you can do whatever you like. This is your painting. You can do whatever you like. Okay? I'm adding some more blue because I think I want more blue at this end. This is my painting. Okay. Look at that. Go right up to your popsicle line. And even if by accident you went in a bit, it'll be okay. You can reintroduce some more white. So, if I'm finished with my blue, for instance, I can then go back in with more of my white and add some more white stripes, making sure that every now and then you get your paintbrush wet to help the color spread. And always a good idea to step away from your painting and see how it's coming along. It's hard to sit right up on your painting and see how you're doing. I think I want to reintroduce some more pinks into my painting. So I'm picking up some more pink right now. Just putting in a few strokes of pink in there. This is your painting. You can reintroduce some more white as well. You decide what you'd like to add to your painting. So I'm reintroducing some pink. How is your color coming along? I cannot wait to see your background colors when you're done. You can reintroduce more yellow if you wanted to. I just did a bit more yellow. You can clean your brush in between. If the colors are becoming too muddied and too much blending, you can clean your brush and reintroduce. Okay, looks like we are done with our background. I was just having a little bit of fun with my background. I'm getting carried away. So now we're going to work on our popsicle stick. If you do not have the color brown, and if your color brown is very, very dark, you want to take the brown that you have and add a bit of white to it. If you don't have the color brown, you can mix brown by taking those three colors that I mentioned to you as your primary colors, which is your red, your yellow, and your blue, and you're going to mix those together. So I'll tell you what you're going to do. On your palette, you're going to take up your yellow with your popsicle stick. Find a spot on your palette or your plate to put the yellow down. Then you're going to take up a bit of red. So red was one of the primary colors we spoke about to have for our supplies list today. You're going to take up a bit of that red. You're going to put that into your yellow. So I've got my red in the spot. I'm going to take it up about the same amount as the yellow that you had before. Putting it into the yellow, I'm going to mix that up. And now I'm going to take a bit of my blue, about the same amount, and put that into my red and yellow mix. If it's too green looking, it means you have a lot of yellow and blue in there. You want to pick up a bit more of your red and put it in there. You need the color brown. You will probably be getting a dark brown, but because we want our popsicle stick, which I have in my hand, to be a lot lighter, once you mix your brown, you're going to add white to that. So I'm going to scoop up some of my white and put it into my brown mix. I know it's a little tricky when you're mixing your brown. And I don't know if you've ever looked at an entire box of popsicle sticks. They're not all exactly the same color brown. So I've mixed my brown. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow into it, so it's not so red. And I think even a little more yellow. And I'm actually going to lighten it up a bit more. So I'm going to take a little bit more white into that till I get my popsicle stick color. Oh, I think I've reached the color I'd like. Can you see that? That's my brown mix. We took our red, we took our yellow, and we took blue. We mixed the three till we got a brown. The brown was dark, and so what I needed to do to that was add a bit of white to lighten it up a bit, and now I have a light color popsicle stick. Let me know if you've mixed your brown color and if you are ready for our next step, which would be to paint our popsicle stick onto that. Temperature is great. I'm painting popsicles and I am in a good mood today because it is hot, which reminds me of the temperature when I was growing up in the country of Trinidad, nice and hot. Give me a thumbs up or a little note letting me know if you've gotten the color brown and you're ready for the next step. The next step, in addition to the brown that you just mixed, you're going to need your small paintbrush because we're going to be doing something that's a lot smaller. You're going to be needing your small paintbrush. I'm getting my small paintbrush ready. Looks like we're ready. Our first step, as usual, is to get your paintbrush wet. So I've got my paintbrush wet. I'm going to go into this zone. Because your background might not be dried just yet, don't be too stressed about it. Don't worry about it. You might pull in some of the colors that you had on the outside into your popsicle stick, and that's going to be okay. Remember we spoke about happy mistakes? It'll be okay. So I'm taking up my light brown mix. following the shape that I did before. This one, I'm just going to do one popsicle stick. My original one had 2 popsicle sticks. Go follow my shape. And my glue is not wet, so look at what happened. I pulled in a bit of glue into my popsicle stick, but I'm not going to let that bother me because I know that with a bit of blending, I can blend the blue into the popsicle stick, as well as when this dries, you can simply go over it again with your popsicle stick color, so not to worry about it. I'm going to clean my brush because I pulled in a bit of the blue. Picking up more of my brown, I'm going to just try and cover that up some more. How's your popsicle stick coming along? If you happen to be late and you missed the beginning of our paint session, always remember that you can go back onto my Facebook page, Art and Soul with Nicole, and you can look at the video once again. It's saved on my Facebook page, Art and Soul with Nicole. You can look at the video once again, or you can go onto my YouTube channel, and the name of it is Art with Mrs. A. And then you'll put in the name of the painting we're doing today. So Art with Mrs. A, Icy Treat. And you can find the video and you can look at the video at a convenient time that works for you and get the painting done. So even if you missed it, even if you missed starting up with us, it's okay. Look at that. Our popsicle stick's done. I'm going to put a little more brown at the bottom of it because I see it's a little bit wonky onto the side. I've loaded up more of the brown onto my brush. I'm just going to straighten that out a bit. There we go. I have pulled a bit of my blue into it, but I'm not going to let that bother me because I know once this dries, I can go in and autocorrect and correct anything that might be bothering me. How are we doing? So you can always go back and look at my videos later on in case you missed anything. Once you're finished with your popsicle stick, clean your paintbrush. We're getting ready for the main part, our popsicle itself. Now, to me, it doesn't matter the flavor of my popsicle as long as it's a popsicle nice and cool on a day like today. Doesn't matter what flavor it is. Some of you have favorite popsicle flavors. What would your favorite popsicle flavor be? The one I have in the original looks like it could be like a lemon or mango flavor, and then maybe cherry flavor popsicle stick. What are some of your favorite popsicle stick flavors? Drop me a line, let me know what your favorite popsicle flavor would be. If you had the ultimate popsicle that you absolutely love, what would the flavors on that popsicle be? We're getting ready for our next step in the meantime. I'm putting my paints out. So for the popsicle that I'm having, I'm going to be putting a bit of yellow. I'm going to be putting a bit of red. Oh, I see lots of little hearts and hugs. Thank you, thank you. And shades. Yeah, we would need shades for the weather out today because it's so very hot and sunny. I'm putting on my palette for my popsicle stick my red, my yellow, and I know that when I mix red and yellow, that's going to give me the color orange. It's my secondary color orange, so we're going to do a bit of that. But I'm going to start at this end of my painting with my yellow, and then I'm going to put a bit of red in this zone, and then a bit of dark red in this zone. If you wanted to start with white in this spot and then move on to yellow, green, this is your painting. Whatever you decide, that's what's going to work for us. Okay, how are we doing? Drop me a line, let me know if you're ready for the next step, which is our popsicle zone. Put your colors onto your paper plate or your palette if that's what you have. Our popsicle stick itself is done. We're getting ready to do this part of our popsicle stick. Now, for those of you who might want a bit of a challenge, if you still have some of your dark brown, which was the original mix that we started with, you want to put a little bit, and I'll show you what I mean. You want to put a little bit of your dark brown just in this zone as the shadow from the popsicle. So I'm going to take a bit of my dark brown mix, which I had from before, because we had to mix the color brown that we needed. So I'm going to take a bit of my dark brown mix, and I'm going to add a bit of shadowing just under my popsicle stick, and maybe to one side, because I think when we were painting before, we spoke about shadowing, because we know there's a lot of light coming in. We also spoke about shadowing, so just under, I'll bring it a little closer maybe so you can see. I'm going to add a bit of shadowing right there, not a lot. Just under my popsicle, and then maybe I'll bring a little bit down on this end of it. Can you see that? I've added a bit of shadowing to my painting. So if you want a bit of a challenge, you can add a bit of shadowing just underneath the zone. Yep, just under, not a big space, and then to the side and around. Thin line. Just a bit of shadowing on my popsicle. Can you see that? Okay, looks like we're ready for the next step. Oh my goodness. If you have extra paint, like extra brown paint or any color, I guess that means you're going to have to paint another painting. So if you've got extra paint, you can paint another painting, or even in painting this, once this is dry, so at the end of our paint session today, if you've still got extra paint on your palette or on your plate, I was actually thinking originally of putting some of the fruits down at the bottom. So if you've got extra color paints, you can put maybe bananas or mangoes or a slice of lemon or a slice of orange at the bottom. So if you feel like you've got extra paint at the end, by all means, you can either paint an entirely new painting, or you can add some paintings and fruits at the bottom of your painting. Okay? So I had my dark brown paint that I started off with, and I just used that for my shadowing. Now I'm going to clean my brush, because guess what? I'm going into my popsicle zone, that icy cold popsicle that we could be enjoying maybe once we finish painting today. I'm going to start with yellow at this end. Then I'm going to move a mix of my yellow and red in this zone, which is going to give me the color orange. And then I'm going to move up into this zone with a bit more of the red by itself. So let's pick up on our brush yellow, which, oops, I forgot to put on to my palette. So I'm putting my yellow because I'm ready. So what I would recommend actually is that you take a little bit of white and mix it into your yellow. So I've got yellow and white mix. I've mixed it in so my yellow is a lot brighter. I'm going to start by taking that yellow color just in this spot down at the bottom for the yellow part of my popsicle. Look at that. So yellow with a bit of white at the very bottom of your popsicle. Unless you decided to have like a purple grape popsicle and you wanted to start with purple down at the bottom, yeah, you could definitely do that. How are we doing? So here we go. Taking my time as I go around the edge. Oh boy. I'm definitely going to have a popsicle at the end of this. How's your yellow coming in? I've started with yellow. Putting that in there. Taking my time at the edge to straighten up my lines. If, as I've shown you before, some of my background lines went into my zone of my popsicle stick, I'm going to use down at this zone a bit of yellow and a bit of white. It might take a couple coats to cover that up a bit. So I'm taking my time, making sure my lines are nice and straight. White is a good cover-up. So that's why I recommended mixing a bit of your yellow with a bit of white, because it's going to cover up really well some of that color. There we go. So with the yellow on my brush, I'm going to start by taking up a little bit of my orange color. Yellow is on my brush. I've taken up a little bit of my orange color or my red color, and I'm just going to blend. Looks like I have a little bit of another color in mine. So now this part's got a bit of orange to it. Can you see that? I'm going to blend the zone between the two, so I'm going to get my brush wet, and right between my yellow and orange, because I don't want there to be a line, I'm going to blend it back and forth a bit. If you think you've added too much of the orange color, pick up some more of the yellow and reintroduce that color into that zone. You want to get a nice gradual blend from your yellow into the orange color. To get the color to blend nicely, you want to make sure your brush is wet. So get your brush wet. If there's too much water on your brush, just lightly tap it on the paper towel, not to take the paint off, but just to take up the excess water. There we go. And now I'm going to pick up more of my orange color, more my red. I picked up a bit blue onto my brush. That's okay. I'm going to need a bit more orange paint. Which it looks like I'm running low on, but I'm not going to let that bother me. So remember to blend, which we had done before when we did our seaside sunset. It just means you're stroking the brush back and forth, and your brush should be wet so that the color spreads nicely. Oh, looks like I got a bit of a run. Guess what I need to do? Take my paper towel and lightly dab the run. Keep going, you're doing pretty good. I want to see your paintings when you're finished. I mean, I imagine that your paintings are so good you might even want to eat your painting, but you're not going to be eating your painting. You can take your imagination and let your mind escape with your painting. And then maybe you can ask mom or dad to get you a frozen treat, a nice icy treat, or a nice tall glass of water with ice in it. I'm picking up more of my red as I go to this end. Started off with my yellow, picked up a little bit of red, a little bit more as I move to this end of my popsicle. So we're actually blending, which is what we did when we did our sunset painting. If you would like to add purple at the end because you're thinking of a nice grape popsicle, go ahead. Or if you wanted to add pink like it's a strawberry popsicle, go ahead. Keep going till you completely fill. I've got an even darker red, so I'm going to start doing that at this end. Oh, yes. Or if you had purple, you want to start by taking a little bit of the purple on your brush, even though you have the other colors on it. If you think you do not want the yellow to be at this end, clean your brush first before you add your color at the end. So I've reached just about the top of my popsicle. Taking your time at the edge. I've used a really dark sort of pink purple color at this end. How's your popsicle coming along? What colors did you use? I've used my darkest sort of pink color at the end. There's my frozen treat. There is my frozen treat. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of my red that I have, and I'm going to do a bit more blending. I'm going to bring a little bit of the red down at this end. So those of you who want a bit more of a challenge, I'm going to bring it down. Did you see what I did? I added a bit more of my dark color around this end. So my red, I pulled it around this end just a little bit, not a lot. Not a lot. Can you see what I did there? I'm going to pull a little bit more of my red around this end as well. But if you like what you have, just leave it just as it is. Just a little bit around that. Can you see that? What I'm going to do next is I'm going to clean my brush. I've cleaned my brush. Now I'm going to go in and do a bit more blending. So my brush is clean. It's just got water on it. I'm just going to blend a bit more. Just gradually blend. Can you see that? Okay. Cleaning my brush. We do want our background to be, by now your background should be dried. I'm going to show you how we're going to add the highlights to the popsicle to create the effect of the two zones on your popsicle, or you can leave it a bit like this. We do have to add some highlights to it as well. So while I wait for this side to dry a bit, I'm going to go in now. See, I've missed a few spots just around my popsicle. I'm going to go in with a bit of my paint color, and I'm going to fill those spots in while I wait for my popsicle zone to be dried. So I'm going to take maybe a little bit of blue. I'm just going to fill that in a bit because there's a lot of white there. Yep, just cleaning up just around my popsicle. Popsicle stick had a bit of white spots in there. Take care of that. Fill that in with a bit of color. Whatever spots, take your time. You can go around your popsicle. Fill any of the zones you like. What we're going to do now as well, while we wait for this zone to dry, I'm going to go into my popsicle stick itself and add a bit of highlight to it. So finish up the edges around, around your popsicle in case there's any white spots. Whatever color you like, you're just going to lightly go over those zones just a bit. Okay. So to add a bit of highlight to my popsicle stick, I'm going to take the brown, the light brown that we had, and I'm going to mix it with a bit of white so it becomes a little lighter. So it's not purely white. Mix the two, brown with a bit of white, so it's a lighter brown. And I'm going to take my time and just do a nice thin line coming down and around. Can you see my highlight? So I've got the shadowing on the one side, and now I've added my highlight. So you can do that if you'd like a bit of a challenge. We're waiting for this to dry. While we wait for this to dry, we're going to add the drops. So you see how we have little drops coming down? Our day is so hot that our popsicle is beginning to melt. And we want to do this in a spot that's dried. So check your background, see if it's dried first before you go in and do the drops. So I can see that this part of my popsicle is dry. And we're going to start by doing it in white. I'm going to start by doing it in white first only because my blue is very dark. And if I do my yellow or whatever color on top of the blue, I'm not going to see it as well. So I'm taking a little bit of my white. And in the very corner of this, I think this is where the drop is going to happen because it's such a hot day. I'm going to do a teardrop shape. That's my first one. And remember we spoke about doing things in thirds or threes. So I'm going to do another little drop. Maybe this one might even be a little bigger this time. That's my drop number 2. I'm going to do one more drop. Maybe it's going to be the biggest drop. And remember, you have to do this in a spot that is dry. Otherwise, you're going to pull in some of your color. There are my 3 drops, but I don't want my drops to be white. I want the drops to be the color of my popsicle. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and a little bit of red on my brush. I'm going to put the 2 colors using my small brush. Because this is so very tiny, you want to just use a small brush. And I've put a bit of yellow and a bit of red on my paintbrush. And now I'm going to go over my little drop that I had. Can you see that? I did one, picking up a bit of yellow, a bit more red, and I'm going to go over my second little drop because it's a hot day. I'm letting a bit of the white show through as well, and a bit of the yellow and a bit of the red on whatever color you use. If you want to do purple and yellow, whatever color, both colors onto your brush. Now I'm going to do my last drop. Because it's that kind of day, such a hot day that the popsicle is dripping and melting in the heat. I've done 3 little drops. If your day is absolutely super hot and it's really very hot, you can add 4 drops, you can add 5 drops. At the bare minimum, I would recommend that you do at least 3 little drops from your popsicle stick. So now what I'm going to do is going to add a bit of detail to my popsicle. I've used the colors red, yellow, and orange. If you've used pink, that's fine as well. So Kaylee, if you've used pink, that's fine. What we're going to do is add a bit of highlight to our popsicle. If your popsicle is not quite dried, and mine isn't, but I'm not going to let that bother me. What you can do is take another painting, if you have one, or a book or something, and you can fan it till it dries, or if you can carefully take your painting up without getting it wet. I'm going to read my note that my daughter's helping me with. Great, you can use whatever color you want for your popsicle stick. That's great. You want to fan your painting so it can dry. Carefully hold it. Don't let it get out of your hand so it doesn't fly away. You want to dry it a bit more. So while yours is drying, I'm going to show you what you can do to continue on and add the highlights to your popsicle stick. So what we're going to do, I'm going to add the highlights. I'm going to use a bit of yellow and a bit of white. You are drying your painting in the meantime. I'm not going to let the fact that my painting is not dried bother me, so I would say pause for a minute, continue drying your painting, but I'm going to show you how you're going to add a bit of highlight to your painting. I'm going to take up a bit of yellow and a bit of white onto my paintbrush, and I'll show you. I've got yellow and I've got white, and this time I just cleaned my fingers up a bit because it had a lot of blue on it. I've got a bit of yellow and white on my paintbrush. And now I'm going to add some highlight to my popsicle stick. Right now it just looks flat, but we want to add that bit of dimension to it. And to add the dimension, we're going to add the highlights. Taking it, I'm going to go around the edge. This one had two highlights because I had two popsicle sticks. This time I only have one popsicle stick. If you've got two popsicle sticks, you're going to do this twice. Once, and then you're going to do it a second time. But because I've only got one popsicle stick this time, I'm just going to do one highlight. If you've got two, you're going to have to do twice. I've got one, so I'm taking a bit of yellow and white on my brush, and I'm going to go. You must follow the curve on your popsicle. So here we go. I'm going to start in this zone. Taking my time. Whew, I did it. I'm going to straighten it up a bit because I see that this side went in a bit too much. Cleaning my brush. I'm going to pick up some more of that yellow and white that I started off with. And I see that some of my color got mixing with my red because I knew it wasn't dried yet, but I'm not going to let that bother me. And I'm going to show you, for instance, how you can correct things if you've made a mistake. See how I went in a little too much on this end, didn't quite. I'm going to actually come back more out this way. To correct it. More yellow, more white. And now I'm going to connect these two. And because that's not the spot where I would like my line to actually follow, I'm going to clean my brush. And you can do this once it dries. You don't do it when it's wet, but I'm just showing you how you could have corrected it. Now I'm going to go in and cover that up, because it went in the spot that I didn't want it to actually be in. Because it's hard to paint from the side of the painting, only because I'm trying to show you stuff. I'm just going to cover that up. That's the beauty of the acrylic paints. Once they dry, you can go over them again and cover up anything that you're not pleased with. So I'm going to fix all of this. Do you see that? It's gone. You almost didn't even know that I had done that. You have to decide how you're gonna. I'm gonna cover all of the stuff that I didn't want there up. See how easy a fix that was? I just had to take the color that I had used before and cover it up. And so for those of you who are doing the popsicle with the two popsicle sticks, you're going to have to do that twice. I did it once because I just have one stick. This one has two sticks, and so I did the two little zones, the two highlights. Let's see if I can stick that back up again. Kind of works. Might drop. Not going to let it bother me. Okay, so I'm going to straighten that up a bit more because that's a bit of my highlight. More yellow, more white. I'm going to add even more coming down this way a bit more. Can you see that? Nice and icy. Now, once your popsicle is really dry, you can add a bit of whatever your darkest color is. I don't know what color you use. It might have been purple. I've got a really dark red. So I'm going to take some of that red color just on the inside of my highlight. And this is only if you want a bit of a challenge. My little ones who are 4 and 5 years old, you don't have to do all of this stuff. So I'm adding a bit more of my dark just on the inside. Can you see that? A little bit on the outside. And now I'm going to take white, just white by itself. And I'm going to add a pop of white in the very corner. And that's going to be like the reflection of the light coming off of your popsicle stick. So I'm going to add a little hint right in this corner. So it gives it a bit of a shine. Can you see that? As if the light, oh, there it goes. I thought it might have stayed up, but I guess it didn't. My daughter Nisa is just going to help me by popping that right back on. A little higher, hun. Just up to the top. Thank you. And then just press it on. I didn't get the chance to really press it on. There we go. It's back up again. There's my popsicle stick. There I've added a bit of highlight around that corner. I might add a little bit of white at this edge as well, because this is where you're adding. It's a really thin line of white. Can you see that? These are your highlights. That's why we put them in. Because this is the spot where the light is shining the most on your popsicle stick, on your popsicle. Just going to add a little bit white down this way, and this way. Put a little bit there maybe. So add a little bit of white into a few spots of your popsicle stick. If you were doing, I'm taking it down again. If you were doing the popsicle stick with the 2 sticks on it, oh, I gotta find my spot, it's hard. The 2 sticks on it, you're gonna do 2 of the highlights. You're gonna do 1, and then you're gonna do 2. And then see that little bit of white that's up in the, that's there, bit of the reflection of the light shining on your popsicle. So that's why I added my bits of white right there. And my yellow and white were my zones right there. But I have 2 of them because I had the 2 popsicle sticks. And we are just about finished with our painting. What I'm going to add is a bit more to my background. And I might even add a little more white to my popsicle stick, just to give it a little more pop. There we go. Oh yeah, you can see that better. Can you see the white that I added for the highlight for my popsicle stick? I'm loving my background. I might add little hints of blue and white in there, because this is your painting. You get to decide how you'll be adding things to your painting. There we go, a bit of blue and white, putting in some hints of white and another color, so you can add white and pink, white and blue, just adding a bit of pop to our background. Now, I think we spoke before about a very important step when you are painting. When you are finished your painting, it is important that you sign and date your painting. So once you are finished with your popsicle, you need to sign and date your painting. I've recommended in my list of things that you can use a Sharpie, or if you have what's called a paint pen. These are paint pens. They've got paint inside of them, so when you sign, the paint comes out onto it. You can either sign the back of your painting, but it's important that you also put the year. Or you can sign the front of your painting as long as the spot is dry. So I'm going to put my initials, or you can write your first name. Bottom right-hand corner of your painting is where it's recommended most. And I'm going to put 2020. That way, in case you become famous later on and they ask, well, what was your first painting you ever did? Or show me some of your early works. This will be one of them. Signed and dated, then we know how old you were at the time. You might be even famous, and your paintings could sell for millions of dollars, who knows? But as long as when you paint, you are enjoying the painting process, that is what is most important. When I do my paintings, I relax. Sometimes I have music playing. Sometimes I'm thinking of things that I want to actually eat when I paint, and all of that is okay, as long as you enjoy the process. So I want you to enjoy your process as you're painting. Think of the nice icy treat. I'm going to hang around for a little while if you have questions or any concerns. And I'm actually going to show you as well what we're going to be painting next. It was so hard for me to decide what we would be painting for today. And it was between the popsicle and the ice cream. So what I decided to do was this week we will paint this icy treat. And next week we're going to be painting ice cream. I absolutely love ice cream. I think even more than popsicles. This is the ice cream that I created for us to be painting. You can decide what flavor you'd like. Like I've got strawberry, then I've got chocolate chip mint, and then vanilla with sprinkles at the top. Look at it. Sprinkles and then a cherry and chocolate stick. Oh my goodness. You begin to think of what you would like to paint for your ice cream flavors next week. Do you like strawberry? Do you like vanilla? I cannot wait to paint this with you. So I'm hoping you're able to join me next week for our next painting, which will be our ice cream painting. I scream for ice cream. I absolutely love ice cream. I had 2 servings of ice cream yesterday, but that was after I had my dinner and because the day was very, very hot. So I absolutely love ice cream. So thank you for joining me today. In case you missed today's session for our icy treat, you can look it up again at a time that's convenient for you on my Facebook page, which is Art and Soul with Nicole. That's me. So you can join me there, or you can go onto YouTube. And on YouTube, you're going to look for Art with Mrs. A. I miss all my students who normally paint with me. We're not able to paint right now, but you can join me online for my free virtual paint sessions. Just relax through your painting process. Don't stress about it. We can't all be outside. We have to be careful with social distancing. We've got a lot of online schoolwork to do, but taking a creative break is always good for you and good for your soul. Awaken your inner artist because it's in there. You just got to remember to take it out every now and then and do a little painting and creativity. So I'm going to stay for a little while. If you have questions for me, send those questions in. I hope that you had a good time. Yep. Thank you, Kaylee, for joining me today. And that was all the way from New York. So I have a lot of people from lots of different places. Send me, let me know where you're painting from. Some of you are right here in my own backyard. Some of you are from Trinidad, which is where I'm from. Send me a note. Let me know where you are. And I'm thankful that you were able to join me today and we were able to spend our time here together. You decide on your colors. At the end of the session, I'm going to be posting my completed painting, and I want to see what painting you have done. So send me your images of what you painted today. I look forward to seeing it. Did you change your flavor up? How did your background look? Did you change up your background? I'm kind of excited to see what colors you've used for your paintings. And then I hope that you can join me next week, Wednesday, at 1 o'clock again to paint one of my favorite desserts, which is ice cream. I absolutely love ice cream. I hope you do too. Begin to think of the flavors you like, because it's going to be a great time next week, and it's probably going to be hot. Oh, no, Florida. Oh, I thought you guys were still in New York, but I guess you're in Florida, so you're painting all the way from Florida, and it probably is definitely hot in Florida. So thank you for joining me then. Thanks, Sam, for joining me as well. I hope to see you next week as well for our ice cream painting, which I absolutely love. Take care. I'm glad that you were able to join me, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Bye.